Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something awesome here before you to take a look at today. I recently had reviewed the Passion Charger Edmontosaurus here on the channel. Well, we now are going to take a look at another Passion Charger release. This is the most recent release. There are actually two dinosaurs that are kind of part of a diorama, and you can buy them separately, so I decided to review them separately as opposed to just having one gigantic review. I figured it would be easier to do it this way. But this is their Acrocanthosaurus, a 1/35th scale Acrocanthosaurus, and it is definitely and without question my favorite Acrocanthosaurus in my collection. Such a beautiful model with a really cool dynamic pose as it's running along, and the scene that it's actually portraying is the Acrocanthosaurus running alongside of a Tenontosaurus, and it's about to take that Tenontosaurus down and acquire its next meal, and you'll see the entire scene complete when I actually review the Tenontosaurus in a few days. I'll have that review up, and you can see how cool the entire diorama looks. But again, I felt like it made more sense to review each dinosaur individually and then kind of show them off together in the Tenontosaurus review, because again, you can buy them as a set or you can buy them individually. It's really up to you, but I recommend buying both because honestly, they're gorgeous models. The Tenontosaurus is just as incredibly nice as this Acrocanthosaurus you see before you, but the model, of course, comes unpainted and unbuilt. You have to build and paint it, and this is the paint scheme that I came up with for mine, and I'm actually quite happy with it, which is not something that you'll hear me say very often when it comes to dinosaur models, that I end up painting them more often than not very happy with the final results. I'm always kind of critiquing what I've done and just never truly pleased with the final product, but I felt like this one actually turned out pretty darn nice looking and really appealing as far as the paint scheme that I've chosen for it, and I feel like it suits the dinosaur quite well. So let's go ahead, jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Acrocanthosaurus, you can see from a detailing standpoint, it is really beautiful, and that's something I'm confident you will always find from Passion Charger. I stated in my Edmontosaurus review that I feel like Passion Charger is probably the best overall at providing the highest of quality sculpts when it comes to capturing every ounce of detail, and I stand by that statement, and you can see that here, I think, in this Acrocanthosaurus, just like you saw in the Edmontosaurus. You can see that the mouth is wide open as it's just preparing to lunge down and take a bite out of the poor Tenontosaurus that it is chasing. You can also see the nostrils are sculpted out really quite beautifully up here on the snout. The eyes as well are sculpted really quite nicely, so they are really quite easy to paint, which is, of course, a very big plus. And again, all of the actual texturing to the skin and the detailing all over the head is really beautifully done, just making it an absolute blast to paint this model. You can also see the ears are sculpted out on this Acrocanthosaurus. The inside of the mouth as well is insanely well done from a detailing standpoint. Like you can see that the actual detailing inside of the mouth, it's just ridiculously highly detailed. Even going back here into the throat, you can see that it almost genuinely looks like it actually has a throat. The tongue itself is sculpted beautifully, again allowing a really easy paint application because the model almost paints itself. And you can also see that the teeth are all sculpted out really beautifully, each tooth sculpted individually and very realistically throughout the entire model. So the entire mouth region of the Acrocanthosaurus is as high quality as it gets. As you start to move back here into the neck region, you see a lot of creasing going on here as the Acrocanthosaurus has its head turned very sharply to the right as it's about to lunge down and bite the Tenontosaurus. So you can see that aspect of the sculpted out really nicely as far as like a detailing standpoint. Again, lots of really nice creasing and bunching of the skin up in that general vicinity. You can also see a significant amount of like hanging skin or bunched up skin here in the throat region of our Acrocanthosaurus, also kind of taking note to the throat itself down there. We also have a very cool ridge line that appears up here on the top of the head, and I love that they're not all the same size. Like every one appears to be a different size, and that's really cool. I love the way that they've done that. Just it takes it from having kind of a cool but somewhat generic look to an over-the-top, incredibly beautiful and very realistic appearance. So I definitely love that aspect of the model. As you move down here into the body, you can kind of pick out some like tensing to the musculature here, just kind of showing off the open mouth positioning of the Acrocanthosaurus and how it's tensing the muscles preparing to bite down on the Tenontosaurus. You can also see that the arms are held into the body in a very nice, very realistic and comfortable looking way. You can see the elbow right there, as well as a beautiful hand sculpt on the Acrocanthosaurus, so very nicely done there. You can move up here into the stomach region, and again, you could just see so much movement here shown in the stomach as far as like the skin bunching up and just like scrunching due to this leg pushing so far up into the body as it's running along, as well as the arm kind of moving the skin there in the stomach region. Passion Charger is just unbelievable at providing detail in the movement of the sculpt. Like, it always just looks as detailed as it could possibly get. Again, you can see those kind of skin wrinkles and creasing going on all the way up here into the side of the stomach region, way up here as this leg is pushing into the body. You see more of those ridges running along the back of our Acrocanthosaurus, and then you can also kind of pick out the hip bone, but of course it's not super visible or anything like that. You can definitely pick up on some pretty nice looking muscle definition there in the thigh as well as the calf. As you move down the leg, you do have the kneecap present there in the front. The foot sculpt is incredibly well done, and you can see that there's some nice scoots down the course of the foot down into the toes. The nails are also sculpted out really beautifully. The foot is obviously up in a very realistic position as if it's about to lunge down and potentially try to plant the Tenontosaurus down with its foot, or maybe just, again, take a very long stride, as the chase is probably occurring with a fairly quick speed overall, so the dinosaur would without question have to be taking some pretty big lunges to keep up with the Tenontosaurus. And then of course we move out here into the tail, and you can kind of see like skin stretching off of the tail, showing movement here as this leg is pulling forward so drastically. And you lead out the length of the tail. The tail again continues with those ridges. You can see the ridges get really small right here though, before they actually pick back up a little bit, get a little larger out here as you get closer to the tip of the tail. We have a really nice, very majestic looking curve to the tail here of the Acrocanthosaurus. And then if we turn to the opposing side, again, the head sculpt looks fantastic, which we already have taken a look at, but as we lead back here into the neck, you can really see now just like the big bulky look of the neck of the Acrocanthosaurus. Like, it definitely looks like a very large and intimidating animal, and you can really see that displayed here in the neck. More creasing, again, as this lower jaw is open so wide, it's kind of creasing the skin right there in the neck region as that jaw pushes into it, but you can see the big bulkiness to the throat there as well. Moving back into the body again, you can see the arms tucked into the body a bit in a very nice natural position. Again, showing off the movement over here on this side with like some skin wrinkles and skin creases and stuff. It just looks so realistic and so beautiful overall. And again, the leg stretching here as the dinosaur is running along. You can see this leg is trailing, so you can kind of see like the skin stretching off of the stomach region right there, but you can also see some nice wrinkling and everything in the stomach region. And the actual scale detail here on the side of the dinosaur is just phenomenal looking, and you can see that as this side is opened up a lot further to really get a better view of the stomach as opposed to what we had seen on the previous side due to the leg trailing. So you can really see just how gorgeous the actual texturing to the skin is, but also just generally the very massive size of our Acrocanthosaurus. Again, we have some beautiful muscle definition in the thigh back here, as well as the calf as you lead down. The foot is planted into the ground, and it's attached kind of like a peg sort of deal, where you just have to slide the foot down into the base, and it stands so nicely that I actually chose not to take it out of the base because of the fact that it just stands so beautifully, and it's like wedged in there so nicely that it will not fall off. Like you can see, it's super, super stable. And then as you lead back up here, you can see more creasing and everything going on here with the rear of the thigh as well as leading into the tail. Some more gorgeous scale detail as we lead out the length of the tail with those beautiful ridges that run along the back there, out with this really nice majestic curve. The base itself that the Acrocanthosaurus is standing on is just kind of a very nice earthy, kind of a rocky area. You can see that there's lots of rocks and stuff. It kind of almost gives me the feeling like we're running near like a ledge or something like that, like a mountain ledge. So I'm not too sure why, honestly, why it gives me that feeling, but it really does. And you'll see more of why it kind of has that feeling when we look at the Tenontosaurus. But you can see that the actual earthy area, again, is just gorgeous looking from a detailing standpoint. Like, it's very, very lifelike, very realistic overall, super appealing to the eye, and a perfect complement to the incredible Acrocanthosaurus model itself. So this entire set is just beyond phenomenal, and I could not possibly pick a better Passion Charger release to recommend to you guys, which is, again, pretty much a consistent thing because they always release nothing short of absolute gorgeous beauty, but this Acrocanthosaurus is the epitome of just that. Being a 1/35th scale Acrocanthosaurus, you know that it actually does have some pretty darn decent size to it, and I think that would be fairly obvious being, the species of dinosaur that it is. Acrocanthosaurus is a pretty large theropod. But before we actually get into the size, I do want to take a minute and really compliment just how good the actual base here is and the application of the Acrocanthosaurus to the base, because it is so sturdy, it is almost ridiculous. Like, I could actually take the Acrocanthosaurus, and I would normally never do this, and I can hold it upside down. You can see it's not coming off of the base. That is insanely impressive as far as the actual application of this Acrocanthosaurus to the base. But as far as a size on this figure goes, for a length, you are looking at about 12 inches, pretty much on the dot, or about 30 and a half centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would probably be the back of the neck. You're looking at about 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, who is out a little bit probably further than he should be, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line to help stand in here and give us a good idea of the overall size of the Acrocanthosaurus. And you can see in comparison to these guys that it definitely sports a very nice size overall, really impressive, and definitely the type of piece that, with the positioning of the body, the overall pose it's displaying, and the size, is pretty much a centerpiece of any collection. It is just that gorgeous. So this Passion Charger Acrocanthosaurus is potentially my new favorite release from them because it's just so insanely nice. And I mean, that's not a guarantee for me because I have a lot of really nice Passion Charger models now in my collection. You've got some beautiful ones with their Pseudoceratops, two different versions of the Pseudoceratops. We've had a Teratophonius that I've reviewed here on the channel, an incredible Tyrannosaurus versus Edmontosaurus type of a diorama, as well as the recent healthy Edmontosaurus, and now this Acrocanthosaurus. So it's really tough to actually choose a favorite, but I feel like this one is really leading the charge overall because the sculpt is, again, just so cool looking and so appealing with the pose. It's a great species that doesn't have all that many models and definitely doesn't have all that many good models out there. And this is easily the best Acrocanthosaurus that I've seen and that I have in my collection. It overall is just an incredible piece of paleo art. The sculpt is, again, as highly detailed as it gets, and that's something you're never going to see anything different from Passion Charger, as the fact that they always hammer out an unbelievable sculpt showing off literally every ounce of movement that you could possibly think of is shown continuously in the sculpt of a Passion Charger release. They just always give you the highest quality sculpt, and that's exactly what you'll find here on this Acrocanthosaurus if you pick one up. And the model's so beautiful, even as like a standalone. Like, you don't need the Tenontosaurus for it to look any better because the Tenontosaurus will help to make like a really cool diorama, but the model is so beautiful just on its own. It's really the type of piece that you could, again, buy the model without the Tenontosaurus, and you're still going to have just an absolutely gorgeous Acrocanthosaurus model in your collection, but you'll probably want the incredible Tenontosaurus as well once you see the two together. But the sculpt is really nice, again, as I said, from a detailing standpoint, but I love the pose. I love the running pose. It's very dynamic, very exciting. It's not anything that's stale. It's nothing boring. And I love the fact that the dinosaur is like up on one foot, so it really hammers out that very dynamic pose, but allows it to still balance out beautifully. Like, there are no issues at all with this balancing. I don't ever feel like it's going to fall or anything, even though it's standing on one foot, because the way it's applied to the base with kind of like a sort of like a peg, but it's like a block type peg. I didn't even take it out of the base to show you guys because it's actually in there so well. I don't really want to. I want to keep that stability going, so I just left it in the base for the review. But again, the fact that it's applied to the base so well really makes you extremely comfortable overall with the fact that it is up on one leg and creates that fantastic scene that you see before you. The paint here on this was done by me, and I'm actually really quite happy with it for once, so that is definitely a plus. But of course, yours would come unpainted and unbuilt, so you would have to paint it up. however you would like, or you could of course send it out to a paleo artist to build and paint for you. That's really your call. Not a bad way to go, because there's always tons of paleo artists out there just waiting to build and paint a dinosaur for you, trust me. So you could always go that route or build it and paint it yourself. Again, I love building and painting models. I think it's such a great time to kind of create something visually in your own image, or take inspiration from somewhere else and just kind of create it. Like when you're done, it's just such a fulfilling feeling to sit back and look at something and be like, yeah, you know, I created this paint scheme on here, or this paint job, and like, look how nice it turned out. Like, I really love that feeling, and I definitely had a great time painting this Acrocanthosaurus, and I really recommend anybody picking this up and giving it a go as far as painting it yourself. It's a great, great time. So if you are interested in picking this up, again, you can purchase this in the entire set from Passion Charger with the Tenontosaurus, or you can purchase it on Dan's Dinosaurs, but you can also purchase, again, this Acrocanthosaurus individually from Passion Charger. So I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Facebook, where you can contact them, or the listing on Dan's Dinosaurs, or of course you can contact me and I will contact them for you if that is the route you would like to go and you'd like to purchase from Passion Charger, you know, yourself to get the individual Acrocanthosaurus, but you don't have social media. I can hook you up as well if you are interested in going that route. But either way, I really recommend picking this up. It's a beautiful model. So make sure you check the links in the description. Go buy this fantastic Acrocanthosaurus from Passion Charger, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.